Hi there. Today I'm currently doing an automation test of the in-running back to lay automation that we talked about the other week. This time I'm concentrating on the Dutching version rather than the the single pick version. I've been tinkering with some of the settings from the last video I did. Specifically, I've increased my green up position to £25, which is more like my normal. And I've also been playing with one of the conditions. I've been using the selection expression condition to compare the volume of a particular runner against the overall market volume. In the previous video where I was looking at just one selection, I had set that to 0.1, in other words it had to be 10% of the market volume. I've reduced that slightly to 0.05, in other words 5% of the market volume, and that has the effect of making more runners potential, making more runners potential selections. There's another way of doing it. There is a condition called selection relative volume, which you can use to compare one runner's volume against another runner's volume, in the same way as you've got the selection relative odds condition. It works in much the same way. I chose to use the selection expression simply because it's a very simple thing to implement. The effect it has when you set it down to about 5% is it discounts essentially the bottom third of the field, obviously depending on how competitive the market is. So far it's been going okay. As you can see, we've had one losing race, a couple of crackers earlier on, but consistently greening up for over £25. So you'll see in this race we've got two selections, the Curie Bay and Yabber. So we'll see how this one goes. I'm still not convinced about the automation, to be perfectly honest. What I'm finding is, irrespective of the setting you specify, you still have to go in and tell it to look for runners that have dropped a certain amount in price. And by definition, therefore, when you set that level, as far as automation is concerned, it's black and white. A runner either hits that mark or it doesn't. And then sometimes while I'm watching the market, the automation is finding a runner that I'll be looking at the graph thinking, really? And there's other times where I'll be looking at the graph and think, right, that will be a pick, and the automation doesn't find it. Part of the problem with that, of course, is these graphs do not have any indication in terms of vertical scale on them. So I'm just really going by the general shape of the graph, as it were. But as I say, I'm not sure about the automation simply because it removes that flexibility from the decision-making process. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know as yet. Okay, they're still loading, so we'll skip ahead. Okay, off and running at Newmarket. So as I say, I'm looking for £25 green up position, and that's obviously over the two runners over the Dutch. Now the way the Dutch is configured, if you remember from my original video, it will Dutch all the runners found as qualifiers even if there's only one. So in other words, if there's only one selection, it puts the full stake on that selection. And there we've just triggered the green up position and matched that, so that's another £25 to add to the pile. So it's going quite well today. So I'm just going to bash on for a little bit longer. I'll probably stop early evening because there's two meetings on the all weather. So I'll probably draw a halt to this round about dinner time, and I'll let you see the results then. Cheers. Well, I've just come back from dinner to face my usual dinner time disaster. I don't know how many times this happens, but you can see there we've had quite a few losers in the hour between 4 and 5 o'clock, 5:30. I've flagged this up before. I'm sure I can't be the only one that has seen this in the past. it's getting to the point where I'm thinking about not bothering with the last 2 races on the card in the afternoon. Anyhow, it doesn't really matter. As you can see, we're still in profit ever so slightly, although it's been disappointing in this last hour. The interesting thing, however, is if you were to scan through the results and consider just a straightforward Dutch bet, there's a heck of a lot of them have actually been winning races. So for example, this last one here, although it's been a loss as far as greening up is concerned, the one of the selections was actually the winner. So that would have returned a £95 profit. There's another one that's worth flagging up, the Kempton 438. Where are you? There we go. Nice green up, but you'll see the winner was the only pick. Odds, it went off at 14.5, I got 11.5, so that's £1,000, thank you very much, if it was done as a straight Dutch, keeping in mind that the Dutch, if there's only one selection, the full stake goes on that selection. Scanning further back, the race at Newmarket at 2.25 was also a similar one, where there was only one selection and I got 8.4, so that was a nice return of over £700. All in all, however, if you consider all those as Dutch bets rather than traded out, there's a profit over 24 races so far of just over £2,000, which represents a return on investment of just over 80%. So selection of its size is far too small to make any judgment on that, of course, other than it might be worthwhile keeping an eye on it. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for the day. The rest of the races are all weather. I'll probably just leave those. And thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in another one. Cheers, guys.